This is what my lawn looked like right before I decided to smooth it out using sand. And after a few short months, it's looking much better now. But my front yard is looking dry and dull, and frankly, my HOA is tired of it. This was by far the hardest project to film, and it's not because of my awesome shooting angles, but here in Idaho, it was about 108 degrees daily, and my phone would often overheat. I did give it some shade, but it didn't help much. Anyways, and my son decided to give me a hand, and not even a minute later, he was attacked by a swarm of wasps. This section only had a drip line, and I would need to add pop-up sprinklers to this section to keep my lawn thick and green. So I located the Smurf tube that's under the driveway and pushed through a new irrigation line. This was much harder than I thought it would be. The tube was pretty tight, and pushing it over 30 feet really wasn't fun. In fact, in the last couple feet, I had to ask my neighbor for some help, and after that, pulling was much easier. One thing I did not want to happen in the future when mowing this section of my lawn is to have the rocks get into the blades. So to divide it, I'm doing something very different I haven't seen before. I used some 12 by 12 cement blocks that are about 1.5 inches thick and set them vertically into a mortar bed. That way they would not shift over time. This all really overcomplicated the project, but it really turned out nice. Since this section is quite narrow, only about 6 feet wide, I ended up using 12 pop-up sprinkler heads, and that's a lot. I have other sections in my yard that are 4 times larger, using half that amount. While digging, I did notice quite a bit of large rocks and even gravel that was probably used for the concrete base layer just throughout this whole section. So for the last top 4 inches of the soil, I went through and sifted out all the larger pieces, and this included any clay. And what was left behind was very satisfying. It was so soft, but this means I will have quite a bit of settling in the soil since it's so soft. And I really wanted to minimize that as much as possible. I initially used a lawn roller, but it barely did anything to compact that soil. So I used a plate compactor, and that worked out much better. To make sure my lawn would be nice and smooth, I even screeded it. Now, when it came to the seed, I actually got something called bent grass, and the blue seed here is what is typically found at your local Home Depot, and the bent grass seed is so much smaller, and I was able to only find it online. And after that, to prevent the seed from burning up and also floating away during watering, I added topsoil over on top of that. And after only about 6 days, the grass seed has already begun to grow.